Charlotte and Murter. Welcome to this new Green Talk. To begin with, would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm working for Fair Tourism. It's been set up in 1989. Changed the name. It was Reisbewijs before, and now it's Fair Tour. I changed it into Fair Tourism, a little bit more international. And I also added one of the goals, because the goal that was already there is really exciting people about sustainable tourism. And then I wanted to support local communities with the development of CBT, with community-based tourism. Yeah, our mission is really to assist communities that feel exploited by tourism, as we've been doing with Karenni people in Hua Phuket in Thailand, to make that transition towards community-based tourism. And because together with the local people, we can assess the situation and give the tourism back to them, so that it's empowering instead of exploiting them.
Thank you for this opportunity. It's super nice to be here. My name is Mirte Koster, and I'm in my final year at Leiden University College, and I'm studying Human Diversity, Culture, History, Society. So not really the tourism sector, slightly different. But I ended up working at Fair Tourism because of one of my courses. It was called Development Project Management. And the thing was that you would work together with a real life client, which for me was Fair Tourism. And the goal of our project was sort of to promote that village of Hua Phuket that Charlotte talked about. Mm-hmm. I just really enjoyed this collaboration with them. So in the end, I started working here, which has been about a year ago now, and I'm still here. So yeah.
What fair tourism exactly means to you?
Fair tourism kind of means this kind of tourism that is fair to both the environment, but also to the people. So it's really about these 3 Ps, which is people, planet, profit. For fair tourism, the term really just refers to a kind of tourism that kind of tries to maximize the positive impacts on the environment and the people, and sort of minimize the negative impacts as much as possible.
Okay.
There's many different ways to create a sustainable form of tourism, because it's all about having this place where the environment, where the biodiversity of that environment is conserved and also protected, but also where the local people and local culture is respected and also preserved. But at the same time, because it's still tourism and it's still a market, economic market, you also have to have some kind of socioeconomic benefits for the local population. For instance, you could think of a resort that is run by the local people, so they earn the money. But at the same time, it could be run completely on solar power. So it's also good for the environment. And the same thing with that could be that you inform the tourists beforehand of how to be more sustainable.
Can you tell us about this process of involving locals in the decision-making process around CBT activities?
So CBT is really for and by locals. And as a Fair Tourism, we're only assisting them, but it's their project, it's their village, and it's their lives. But before I continue, I also want to explain a little bit more about the history about the Karenni people.
Yeah.
So the Karenni people, they are originally from Myanmar, and they have all different subgroups like Kayan, which is with the rings around their neck. And all these subgroups, they live in Hua Phuket. And in the 80s and 90s, they escaped Myanmar, really because they had to escape the civil war, the military junta. And in the refugee camps in Thailand, and they were given 3 options by the government: resettle to other countries, but stay in a refugee camp with no freedom of movement, or move to villages open to tourism. And Hua Phuket is one of those 3 original villages near the border with Myanmar. So many tourists came there. So then around 2008, many businessmen opened these kind of commercial show villages near tourism hubs like Chiang Mai, Pattaya, Chiang Rai, Phuket, that tourists didn't have to go all the way to Mae Hong Son. But this has been a big problem for the villages in Mae Hong Son, that they were not coming out to Mae Hong Son. And the thing is with these commercial villages near these tourism hubs, that the tourists, they pay an entrance fee, they go and watch the famous Kayan, they make some pictures, and if they're lucky, they buy some souvenirs. But most tourists are not happy about the experience, saying they feel like a voyeurist. even saying that it's like a human zoo, not learning anything. It's only a marketplace. And they were literally saying, don't go there. But that's not the answer. There is an alternative. And Huay Pukeng is showing that by really talking with the people and what they want to develop, and how they want to talk, how they want to do the tourism in their village, that they're now the first and only Karenni village in the whole of Thailand that made the transition from being a show village towards CBT. Tourists before were only gawking at them and making pictures, and it was a situation of them versus us. And now, and it really divided them. You know, the difference is very big between the tourists and the locals. And now it's a situation of we together.
How does the status from service proposition to collaboration take place?
In 2012, I did a traineeship, and we decided to visit Huay Pukeng and also Huay Sutao and a more show village in Chiang Mai. And we talked with the community, and also we held a photo exhibition when we came back in Holland. And we talked with the village chief in Huay Pukeng. Talking about CBT and explaining what CBT means. And he was very interested already then. And then the organization in Thailand, they assisted the village really to start with the CBT activities in 2016. And then we followed with that also with my training in 2019, adding more activities they wanted to do. FS Fair Tourism doing a lot of the marketing as well for them. And to go from this service proposition to collaboration, so that can take a few years. And I also want to stress the importance that we sometimes have to take off our Western glasses and, you know, realize that things work differently in another country, and that it maybe takes a little bit longer.
Elena from Instagram wants to know if there is any research in tourism showing that consumers consider sustainable practices as an important requirement when choosing an accommodation.
If the villagers want this kind of sustainable tourism, you also need, as the person is asking, like the incentive for tourists to, like for the companies to actually want this, I guess. Mm-hmm. And it's definitely clear that more and more people want these kinds of sustainable features. But we also see that people rather not pay a lot more for it. So they want this, but you know, for like, you need to find a sort of balance between these two, which is very difficult. But you can also sort of see the shift in the tourism industry itself that shows that it's trying to become more and more sustainable.
On the website, we can see that many students like you, Murder, are working on at Fair Tourism. Can you explain how the organization is organized or ordered?
This year we have seen an exponentially big group of students. I've never seen that before, but we have to say we haven't seen students yet from the UvA to join us at Fair Tourism. We have students doing thesis, students doing internship. Yeah, we have a lot of work on our hands. So with marketing, social media, funding, becoming a social enterprise, assisting Huay Pukeng. I'm really thankful and proud of my ever expanding team, and it really inspires me. And very thankful for all their endeavors and dedication.
What is your main takeaway after working for 20 years at Fair Tourism?
I think it's so fascinating that tourism can even lead to more peace in the world. I mean, it's such a powerful industry to do good for the world. If it's organized in a sustainable way, it can lead to poverty alleviation and nature protection. And I'm very thankful that tourism has changed over the last 20 years. Because when I started my career, sustainable tourism had an alternative goat wool socks image. Geitenwolle sokken, Dutch people know. They were like, she's really crazy. And now it's becoming mainstream. And every day I learn about new initiatives and new organizations working on sustainable tourism. And there is momentum now. And my dream for my work life is that no people are exploited by tourism anymore. And it's a very big dream, but I think with this momentum and my ever-growing, super enthusiastic, dedicated team, I know we can achieve this.